If you're reading this right now, at this very moment, it's because something deep within your soul has been stirring. There's a restlessness you can't quite name, a knowing that whispers to you in the quiet hours before dawn. You've always felt different, haven't you? As though you were meant for something greater, something that extends far beyond the ordinary patterns of existence that seem to satisfy others. What I'm about to share with you isn't taught in any institution, nor will you find it in the countless self-help volumes that line bookshop shelves. This is ancient wisdom, reserved for those who have been chosen, not for an easy path, but for a profound purpose. You see, being chosen by the divine doesn't mean you're exempt from struggle. Rather, it means you've been entrusted with the strength to transform not only your own reality, but to become a beacon for others still wandering in darkness. The truth is, there's a cosmic principle at work in your life that most people never discover. I call it the law of the mirror, and once you truly understand it, everything changes. Every relationship that has wounded you, every opportunity that seemed to slip through your fingers, every pattern that keeps repeating itself in your life suddenly makes perfect sense. But before I reveal this life-altering truth, I need you to understand something crucial about your nature. You are not here by accident. The very fact that these words are reaching you now at this precise moment in your spiritual journey is evidence of divine orchestration. If this resonates with you, if something in your heart is awakening as you read, then allow others to experience this same awakening. Subscribe to this channel, because transformation multiplies when it's shared. Now let me ask you something that might initially sound strange. Have you ever noticed that your external world seems to mirror your internal state with uncanny accuracy? When you're feeling abundant and grateful, opportunities seem to flow towards you effortlessly. When you're consumed by fear or doubt, obstacles appear at every turn. This isn't coincidence. This is the universe's way of showing you exactly what's happening within the depths of your consciousness. God uses your reality as a reflection of what exists in your heart and mind. Every person who enters your life, every situation you encounter, every blessing and every challenge, they're all mirrors reflecting back to you the energy you're emanating from within. The external world isn't happening to you, it's responding to you. But here's where most people miss the profound implication of this truth. They spend their entire lives trying to change their circumstances, to rearrange the furniture of their external reality without ever understanding that they're merely rearranging reflections. It's like standing before a mirror and trying to fix your appearance by painting the glass. The image won't change until you change what's being reflected. This is why so many well-meaning people remain trapped in cycles of frustration despite their best efforts to improve their lives. They're working on the effect rather than the cause. They're trying to heal the symptom whilst the source remains untouched. When you were chosen by the divine, you were given a sacred responsibility, not just to live a good life, but to understand and master this fundamental law of existence. You were called to be a co-creator with God, to consciously participate in shaping your reality from the inside out. Think about this for a moment. Every great spiritual teacher throughout history understood this principle. They didn't try to change the world by forcing external circumstances to bend to their will. They transformed themselves so completely that their external reality had no choice but to reflect this inner transformation. Their very presence became a catalyst for change in everything around them. But here's what the chosen must understand about this mirror law. It operates on multiple levels simultaneously. There's the surface level, where your immediate thoughts and emotions create corresponding experiences in your daily life. But there's also a deeper level, where your core beliefs about yourself, about God, and about what you deserve create the fundamental patterns that govern your entire existence. Many of you have been carrying beliefs that you inherited rather than chose. Perhaps you were told that spiritual people must struggle financially, or that humility means making yourself small, or that asking for more is somehow selfish. These aren't divine truths, they're human limitations masquerading as spiritual wisdom. God doesn't want you to diminish yourself. The divine didn't choose you so you could live a life of quiet desperation, accepting scraps when you were meant to feast at the banquet of abundance. You were chosen to demonstrate what's possible when a human being aligns completely with their divine nature. This brings me to the first profound shift you must make. You must begin to see yourself as God sees you, not as someone who hopes to eventually become worthy, but as someone who was created worthy. Not as someone who must earn divine love through suffering, but as someone who is already beloved beyond measure. When this truth penetrates your consciousness, when you truly begin to live from this knowing rather than merely thinking about it, your external mirror begins to reflect something entirely different. Opportunities that seemed impossible suddenly become available. People who never noticed you before begin to seek your counsel. Resources that were always scarce begin to flow with abundance. If you've made it this far in this revelation, it's because you're ready for more. You're ready to activate the deeper levels of your divine connection. Activate the notification bell, because what I'm sharing builds upon itself, and you won't want to miss the profound insights that are yet to come. Now let me share with you a truth that most people, even many spiritual seekers, never grasp. Your thoughts are not just random mental activity, they are creative forces constantly shaping and reshaping your reality. But here's the crucial distinction. It's not just positive thinking that changes your life, it's aligned thinking. It's thinking that harmonizes with your divine purpose rather than fighting against it. You see, many people have been taught to simply think positively, to affirm good things, to visualize success. But if these positive thoughts are built upon a foundation of unworthiness, if they contradict your deeper beliefs about what you deserve, then they become just noise. Pretty noise perhaps, but noise nonetheless. The transformation begins when you address the foundation, when you excavate the deep beliefs that have been running your life unconsciously. When you have the courage to look at the patterns in your mirror and ask not, how can I change this situation, but what in me is creating this situation? This requires tremendous courage because it means taking full responsibility for your life. Not blame, but responsibility. There's a profound difference. Blame looks backward with resentment. Responsibility looks forward with power. When you take responsibility for the reflection in your mirror, you're not saying that you consciously chose every difficulty or challenge. You're acknowledging that at some level, your consciousness has been a co-creative force in your experience. And if your consciousness helped create what you don't want, it can certainly create what you do want. But this is where the chosen often face their greatest test. It's the test of faith versus evidence. Your current circumstances, the state of your relationships, your financial situation, your health, these all represent old creations. They're the result of who you used to be, what you used to believe, how you used to see yourself. When you begin to transform from within, there's often a lag time before the external mirror catches up. This is where many people falter. They change their thinking for a few days or weeks, don't see immediate results, and conclude that this spiritual stuff doesn't really work. But the chosen understand something different. They understand that this lag time is actually a gift. It's God's way of testing the depth of your commitment to your transformation. It's the universe's way of asking, are you changing because you believe in the truth of who you are, or are you changing because you want to manipulate your circumstances? True spiritual transformation isn't a transaction. It's not, "I'll think positively and God will give me what I want." It's an alignment. It's, "I'll align with my divine nature because that's who I truly am, regardless of what my external circumstances currently look like." Then this alignment begins with your relationship with the divine. Prayer isn't begging God for things. Prayer is communion with the source of all creation. It's remembering who you are in relationship to the infinite. It's acknowledging that you are not separate from God's power. You are an expression of it. Meditation isn't emptying your mind of thoughts. Meditation is creating space for divine wisdom to emerge from within you. It's learning to distinguish between the voice of your ego, which speaks from fear and limitation, and the voice of your spirit, which speaks from love and infinite possibility. When you cultivate this inner communion consistently, something extraordinary begins to happen. You start to receive guidance that seems to come from beyond your ordinary thinking. You begin to know things you couldn't possibly know through logic alone. You develop what some call intuition, but what is actually your divine nature asserting itself more strongly in your daily experience. And here's where the mirror law becomes truly miraculous. As you align more deeply with your divine nature, as you begin to operate from love instead of fear, from abundance instead of scarcity, from trust instead of control, your external world begins to reorganize itself around this new energy you're emanating. Relationships that were built on your old patterns of thinking either transform to match your new level of consciousness, or they naturally fall away, making space for connections that support who you're becoming. Career opportunities that align with your true purpose begin to present themselves, sometimes in ways you never could have imagined or planned. Financial abundance begins to flow not because you're chasing money, but because you've aligned with the divine principle of abundance itself. You begin to see money not as scarce resource to be hoarded, but as energy to be circulated in service of your highest good and the highest good of others. But perhaps the most profound change is in how you feel about yourself. The constant internal criticism, the voice that told you that you weren't enough, that you didn't deserve good things, that voice begins to fade. In its place, a quiet confidence emerges, not arrogance, but a deep knowing of your own divine worth. This is when your life becomes a testimony to what's possible. People begin to ask you what's different about you. They can sense the shift in your energy, even if they can't name it. You become a living example of the mirror law in action, proof that transformation from within creates transformation without. Let me share with you a practical example of how this works. Perhaps you've been struggling with difficult relationships. The same patterns keep repeating, people taking advantage of your kindness, or perhaps people being distant and cold towards you. The traditional approach would be to try to find better people, to change your social circle, to learn better communication techniques. But the mirror law shows you something different. It asks you to look at your relationship with yourself. How are you treating yourself? Are you taking advantage of your own kindness, pushing yourself beyond healthy limits? Are you being distant and cold towards your own needs and feelings? When you begin to treat yourself with the love and respect you've been seeking from others, when you establish healthy boundaries with yourself, when you honor your own needs and feelings, the mirror law ensures that your external relationships begin to reflect this new internal dynamic. It's not that you're manipulating people to change, it's that your energy field, your consciousness, naturally attracts and creates relationships that match your internal state. People who can't match this new level of self-respect either rise to meet you or naturally drift away from your experience. This is the power and the responsibility of being chosen. Your consciousness doesn't just affect you, it affects everyone and everything in your sphere of influence. As you heal and transform, you become a healing presence in the world. As you align with abundance, you become a conduit through which abundance can flow to others. This is why your transformation matters so much. It's not just about improving your own life, though that certainly happens. It's about fulfilling your role as one of the chosen, becoming a beacon of possibility for others who are still trapped in the illusion that they're victims of their circumstances. The tools for this transformation are ancient and powerful. Daily communion with the divine through prayer and meditation, regular study of spiritual wisdom, not as intellectual exercise, but as nourishment for your soul. The practice of gratitude, which aligns you with the frequency of abundance. The cultivation of virtues like compassion, forgiveness, and love, which are not moral obligations, but practical technologies for transformation. But perhaps the most important tool is the willingness to see every experience as feedback from your mirror. When something wonderful happens, ask yourself what internal state created this. When something challenging occurs, ask yourself what this is reflecting back to you about your consciousness. This isn't about judging yourself or creating more reasons for self-criticism. It's about becoming conscious of your own creative power. It's about taking your rightful place as a co-creator with the divine, rather than remaining unconscious of your influence. As we near the end of this revelation, I want you to understand something crucial. The moment you truly grasp the mirror law, the moment you begin to live from this understanding, rather than just thinking about it, your life begins to change immediately. Not tomorrow, not next week, but right now. Because consciousness is the only real substance from which all experience emerges. When you shift your consciousness, you shift everything. The external changes might take time to fully manifest, but the internal shift happens instantaneously. You are not powerless, you never were. You are a divine being having a human experience, endowed with the capacity to create your reality through the power of your aligned consciousness. The struggles you've faced, the challenges you've endured, they were not punishments. They were invitations to discover this power within yourself. Every chosen one must walk this path of awakening, must discover that the kingdom of heaven is not a place you go to someday, but a consciousness you can embody right now. Must learn that miracles are not violations of natural law, but the result of aligning with higher laws that most people don't understand. Your life is about to change in ways you cannot even imagine, because you're about to start living from the truth of who you really are, rather than the limitations you thought were real. The mirror law will ensure that every aspect of your existence begins to reflect this new level of consciousness. This is your moment of choice. You can continue living from the old patterns, wondering why life seems to happen to you rather than for you. Or you can step into your role as one of the chosen, taking conscious control of your creative power and beginning to shape your reality from the inside out. The divine has been waiting for you to remember who you are. Your soul has been calling you to this moment of awakening. Share in the comments below what you're ready to change in your own mirror. What internal shift are you committed to making? Your declaration becomes a sacred contract with the universe, a statement of your readiness to step into your divine inheritance. The mirror law is now activated in your consciousness. Your transformation begins now.